Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode. Most of us know that the land of opportunities in this world is America. But is there another land of opportunities in this world? Sridhar Bevara, a street vendor from India, is today the CEO of a global management AI and tech company after he moved the corporate ladder in several multinational companies. Sridhar's success did not come from any miracle that landed in his life, but by using the existing education system in India with a lot of passion and effort. Today, Sridhar is the author of several best-selling books, which was acknowledged by the Prime Minister of India as a book with the same ideas as the Prime Minister's office is using to motivate India's kids. Sridhar is also a TEDx speaker and he is the winner of Amazon 2021 Popular Books Award. Before we go into a very motivational conversation with the man himself, here's a little clip about him.
Are you a strong lion or a timid lamb?
This is Sridhar Bevara, who has written some very remarkable books. An amazing sort of rags to riches story in his own right, which many of you should know.
Yeah, you saw the book beside me.
Mr. Shaheedhar Bevara.
Shaheedhar Bevara.
Thank you so much.
How did you do it? How did you pick up all these ideas?
Your aspirations, your ambitions, your emotions, your relations.
Because it offsets the balance.
He's a leadership expert and an award-winning best-selling author of The Roaring Lions and The Moments of Signal.
SREEDHAR Bevara. He is the author of Moment of Signal.
Change is always resistance.
Check out Sridhar's new book.
Who started, at the bottom of the pyramid, climbed his way on the top, wrote a few books, and now is inspiring people.
Moment of Signal, Sri Bevara.
Sri Bevara, who is a award-winning author and very interestingly started life as a street vendor.
Consistency is very important.
We asked you to be consistent. Yeah.
1 minute of time towards your well-being.
Your collaboration has to have the shared purpose. Otherwise, there is no collaboration.
Realize the challenges of not having money at all. Because when you are a child, when you're growing up, the experiences of, the social experiences, when they are not very palatable for you, when a young child had to wait at the shop, for example, just to get the provisions, and the shop owner doesn't behave well or doesn't behave civilized with that young kid. At that point in time, that leaves a long-lasting impression in the minds of such kids. Suddenly, I felt education is the key for me to start doing good in the life. So immediately, my focus after that long 6-7 years of gap doing random jobs on the road, I have sensed education is that signal that I must catch first. I think graduation, I don't remember much exactly, but it is very much reasonable, like almost maybe a few thousands of rupees altogether. As long as you're able to get up from the bed in the morning, you are mobile, that you know that you can do something on this day. I think it is imperative for a human being to keep excelling and keep trying those limits. And this is for the greater good. First to yourself, and then the ecosystem that is dependent on you. It is the minimum that one person has to do. For anybody to excel in life, it is very important that anybody should go through certain challenges. Your vision cannot be a finite vision where I will achieve, let's say, a $3 trillion economy. That's not vision. I will become number 2 in coming 20 years. That's not vision. Vision is what are you offering for the future generation.
Sridhar, a huge welcome to you for my show, and thanks so much for making the time to come here.
Thank you.
I have been hugely motivated by reading your books, and I'm looking forward to getting even more motivated by talking to you in real person, and so will be our audience. So, really looking forward to a conversation with you, which would be very different from the others. My first question, I'll start by asking you, how was your childhood? Where were you born, and what did childhood look like for you?
The childhood, like every other kid, it has been great, especially until I think I was about 11, 12 years old. I'm originally from a state called Andhra Pradesh in India. But then I think around 11, 12, I started realizing there are challenges of financial related challenges. And then comes along with the financial challenges, there will be social challenges.
So what kind of challenges did you face when you were 10, 11 years old?
I think the routine challenges where many of the Bollywood superstars would probably say. I think one of the incidents I can narrate is the typical, the famous, a young boy going to a Kirana shop because that shop would be giving you a credit. So that shop guy will make you wait until his routine business happens. So you'd be just typically waiting for him to give you a few provisions. For example, I used to go, my mother used to send me to get some dal or some tamarind or some sugar. So you would typically be very, very inferior to even asking, because I'm sure you would get to hear his murmuring, his unsettled with you, your presence. So all these typical experiences, I'm just giving you one small experience. A child doesn't have to go through these experiences. I think, yeah, such are experiences which are very much social challenges for a child to go through.
And in your youth, you have been a street vendor where you sold things on the street. So how was your job like as a street vendor? And from there, how did you break into the corporate world? What kind of qualifications did you get to break into the corporate world?
So the social challenges when a child realizes with. Our family, we were siblings of 4. So I think until my high school, I was with my parents. And thereafter, because of the challenges were mounted very heavy on my parents. And what they had to do was to request some benevolent cousins or friends to take care of their children. So eventually, 4 of us have been divided between 4 different families. So we all went to different places just to find some shelter. And if they were kind, that we would even get some education as well. So in that circumstances, there was a time when we finally felt enough is enough. We have been living outside under the mercy of some kind people. I think one fine day, my elder brother, who is the torchbearer of the entire family, who could bring the family out of the poverty clutches, I think he one day decided that, okay, let's go out and live on our own. So we had moved out. We have moved out to a small room. We were living on our own. Then realized the challenges of not having money at all, because you have to live on your own. Until then, you never had the pain of not finding food, because the cousins were taking care of us in that times. I think those were the circumstances when I thought, okay, let me do something. And by then, my education wasn't very good, thanks to, I think, main blame goes to Sridhar himself. So I started vending the milk packets on the streets, just to be able to chip in something so that the family can move on. Because by then, even my brother was not working. That job was kind of like morning, it starts at 3 o'clock, because the milk packets would arrive at 3 in the morning. And then you would have to collect your tray of milk packets. Before 6, you would have to distribute them in the street to the small tea shops or these hotels. Collection of the money was the toughest thing, because they would normally not pay. So that went on for quite some time. And then then I started working as a waiter because this was not working. Somebody said, if you start working as a waiter, maybe your food challenges, which we were going through those days, they suggested the challenges can be mitigated. So then I started working as a waiter for some time. So I think that went on for about a good 5 years, I think, yeah.
So which was the qualification that you got after that to break into the corporate world? What qualifications did you acquire?
I think the first and foremost qualification was the life experience. That is actually even till today, that has been the most helpful qualification that I've acquired. As how do you take the challenge, or how do you face the challenges of the world? Those 5-6 years of my work on the roads or in the hotel really helped me grow as a person. So that I would consider as my first and foremost biggest qualification. But by then I was only a 10th qualified, by the way. So all my qualifications until graduation, I had to do it while I was working. So in private, I had completed my +2, and then also I completed my graduation, which is Bachelors in Commerce. So that part has been completed while I was working.
So where did you do your Bachelors of Commerce? How did you fund it?
That's Andhra University. I've done it by private because at that time I was still working in a hotel.
So how much does it cost to do a qualification like that?
Not much. I mean, thankfully, I'm not sure how much it is these days, but that was pretty much a small amount. However, that small amount itself used to be big for us. But in comparison,
any idea you can give, a ballpark of what kind of money it cost you?
I think graduation, I don't remember much exactly, but it is very much reasonable, like almost maybe a few thousands of rupees altogether.
So so many people do a graduation, but they do not break into a corporate life in a way that is suitable for them to start a career from there. Where did you start? How did you start your career?
So as I was mentioning, my elder brother, who always had a vision of not just people, but also he's a very good reader of the room. So he always told me that, Sridhar, you're meant for doing better things. Okay, whatever you have worked for the family, it's fine. Now he started settling himself. So he said, now I will take care of the family. So you go back to full-time studies. So that's when I had given a common entrance test for the entrance of the management in the business administration, the masters in the business administration. So sometimes, you get really lucky. Sometimes you get really lucky. So I think I had a jackpot of scoring good in that entrance test because I know that I'm not
lucky. It's not lucky. I disagree. It is something that is special in you. Something that is your talent that has got it there. People don't get lucky to crack CET. So yeah, continue.
I beg to differ. So I got very lucky, and I got a seat, which allowed me to do the masters in the business administration. That was between 1998 and 2000. So after, I think the first time I really got into a corporate world was when I was 28, which is very, very unlikely of an Indian student entering into a corporate world, because you had a pressure of always right after your graduation, you got to get through a job. But for me, my situations were pretty much unusual. And finally, and eventually, and luckily for me, that I was able to get back to corporate world. I started working with the Hindu newspaper as a sales in charge. There, I think year 2000 onwards, my corporate experience have started.
I'll say something. Many people get into the corporate world, but you have been covered by the Times of India, Forbes, Gulf News, Business World. So instead of getting comfortable in the corporate world, what made you push yourself even further to start a global management consulting company, which spans out of India, Dubai, and the US? and get successful in it? I mean, you should have felt you are successful and you have arrived from where you started by getting in a comfortable place in the corporate life. What made you push yourself even further?
Yeah, I think what happens is, like Steve Jobs always mentioned, that you cannot connect the dots looking forward. So you can only connect the dots looking backwards. And I would relate that with my life as well, because yes, I did have an ambition of making it very big in life. So that is the core objective of my life. Because when you are a child, when you're growing up, the experiences of the social experiences, when they are not very palatable for you, when a young child had to wait at the shop, for example, just to get the provisions, and the shop owner doesn't behave well or doesn't behave civilized with that young kid, at that point in time, that leaves a long lasting impression in the minds of such kid. Yes, but if now looking backwards, that guy has no malicious intention, because that guy was uncertain whether that money will come back to him or not. See, that is his concern. But those days, that child wouldn't understand all this. All that he understands is that he is getting insulted in front of other lot. So such kind of experiences, and when you realize that you are lesser of a soul than others in the society, such experiences, I think, many a times will propel you to do something very big in the future. So this is a fundamental step in my case. However, I did not know whether I want to become a big businessman, I want to become a corporate leader, I want to become an author. I did not have any such idea, any such specific idea. What I'm trying to tell you, Jayaji, is that when you are on the process of making it big, and when you're attending the order of the day with utmost passion and zeal, slowly you will start finding different doors, and then you know which door to knock more. So such kind of a journey helped me go through different positions. And the answer to your question is that why after such senior positions in corporate industry, and I had to open another company of myself, is that I thought maybe at this point in time I have some knowledge, I have some knowledge that I can impart with my industry, with the leaders of my contemporary. So I thought maybe that was the primary reason that why I thought, okay, I must do something. Because in a corporate position, your discharge of ability, I mean, the ability to discharge your experience is limited. And in this position, maybe I'll have more freedom to do that, and hence I thought maybe I'll take this route. And
you think that you have something special in you which is making you think that this is too confined. I am meant for bigger things and I can push myself further and achieve something bigger. Is that a feeling that you can constantly had?
Yes, see, that voice in your ear is very important. That voice keeps whispering at you that this is not all that you can do. I mean, there is no reason why you have to just, take a step back and say that, okay, I have enough, I have achieved enough, and that's okay. But I think as long as you're able to get up from the bed in the morning, you are mobile, that you know that you can do something on this day. I think it is imperative for a human being to keep excelling and keep trying those limits. And this is for the greater good. First to yourself, and then the ecosystem that is dependent on you. It is the minimum that somebody, one person has to do.
This is fascinating to hear. I'll tell you, you have written several best-selling books, which was actually quoted in many times by Shaheedhar himself, and you have also got a appreciation from the Prime Minister of India because of how motivating your books have been. I have read your books, and in the book, The Moment of Signal, I found many profound bits in it. And from there, I'll quote one of my favorite bits, among the many favorite bits, which says that unless you're exposed to a certain amount of experiences constantly, it is unlikely that you will have the correct mindset with a certain desire to achieve something in life. Do you think a certain amount of suffering, a certain amount of hardships, maybe intolerable hardships and insecurity is a necessary criterion for somebody to achieve something more than the rest of the world?
What I'm going to say may upset the proponents of balanced life or stress-free life, and these proponents, they may get upset with what I'm going to say now. For anybody to excel in life, it is very important that anybody should go through certain challenges. Because otherwise you don't know what you're actually facing up here. This is the first thing.
How big are the challenges that you should face? Everybody faces challenges. What do you mean by your challenges?
So I'm coming there. If historically, if you see, you take any walk of the life, whether it is political life or any other walk of the life, every time we consider somebody a great leader, that great leader's history, if you go through the personal life, that person must have emerged through a major moment, major challenge, or the person himself or herself has taken up to some challenge because they believe that this is something that I need to address. So there is no leader today, unless that leader is somebody who is given a golden spoon in the mouth. There is no leader today, and I can challenge this. There is no leader today in the world, historically, that had become great without having crossed a certain moment in his life or her life. And why is that? Because the greater the challenge, the bigger the name, the bigger the fame. Otherwise, I mean, what do you claim if you are a leader and what have you done? What greater challenge that you've addressed? What is that great solution that you have offered to the benefit of the people that are looking up to you? So every leader should always have certain amount of pain, suffering, hardship, challenge in order for them to excel. Because you excel only when you are able to address those challenges. That is the first and foremost thing. You have mentioned Dr. Shashi Tharoor, Prime Minister Modi. First of all, Dr. Shashi Tharoor is such a kind man, and I consider there is a big dichotomy in my case. I like some leaders from, for example, the Congress. I like some leaders from, they don't belong to a party. And I like some leaders from the BJP. So my idea of liking a leader is because their own personality, not because whatever the ideology, whatever the party they belong. In the case of Dr. Shashi Tharoor, if you look at his life was not a rose of petals. His father had to struggle a lot. Mr. Shashi Tharoor had to go out. He had some tough, upcoming in his earlier childhood times. And then look at his history. He probably is still the youngest PhD from the University of Tufts. At the age of 21, he became the PhD. 22, I think. He's the youngest by record. Somebody to achieve PhD at that age, you can just imagine this guy. Whatever he is demonstrating today, he has an elephant memory, he is highly knowledgeable, and is a walking dictionary. We all know about him. But all these things aside, what is the best thing that I think is separating from other great leaders is that he's kind. He's always ready to encourage people around him. A great leader is always kind, and a great leader is always who is encouraging his ecosystem. Always, always. I mean, at a drop of a hat, he's ready to just help you. Even if you just met him, he's ready to help you. He will give his time, and he will try to bring you to the same platform where he is. Such a man. I have been fortunate to have some private conversations with him. I met him a few times. He's a brilliant man. Now look at Mr. Modi. His life is full of challenges. From an ordinary Karyakarta, he has risen to the level of Prime Minister of India. That journey itself is inspiring. Don't go to any other things. His journey of where he started in the beginning, as a young boy from wherever he started at the very tender age of 16, 17, I think, to the Prime Ministership. And he is one of the most successful Prime Ministers, if I'm not wrong, probably after Indira Gandhi. The name-wise, he's world popular. Why this guy is special is because of the challenges that he had come across. For me, this is how I look at a leader, why a leader is great. And this gentleman can trace out a minuscule SREEDHAR Bevara somewhere living in Dubai and find out his books and then sends him an appreciation. This is a leadership. I'm sure he has a great mercenary under him. I'm sure he has a great, the strength of departments under him. But he always is looking at who are those thought leaders, who are those people who are doing well in the life. He's the first one to appreciate them. And if you see anybody who's excelling in life is not going out of the Mr. Modi's radar. He's the first one to congratulate them. He's the first one to appreciate them. And this encourages. This spreads a lot of positivity in the society. This also helps people to take that quality of appreciating others. At my level, I can appreciate other people. At his level, he's appreciating certain people. This positivity spreads around. This is why I bring Mr. Shaheedhar or Mr. Modi or even Dr. Kiran Bedi, for example. She's always communicating with the younger generation, spreading her leadership qualities. So there are many such leaders in India and outside India. So for me, such is the leadership, and that is why I am always enamored with such kind of a leadership. When a leader goes through certain challenges in the life, that leader is meant to do much better things for the future generations. Now, that is why probably I think I can connect well with these leaders, and they are kind to have given some praise and appreciation for my work. I mean, they are kind people. All I can say is humbly.
Wonderful. That's a really very profound thing to hear, that what we experience as a hard life, as something that we dislike, is perhaps connecting a dots in future to make us something more powerful than the rest of us.
Absolutely.
And that's what you have tried to say. I'll come to your other book, which is The Roaring Lands, for which you have won the popular 2021 Amazon Popular Authors Award. And that also, I started enjoying the book, and I felt it was a bit like a Rudyard Kipling kind of book. But then I realized it's a very intensely political treatise. And there, I just got very much involved with the various layers and various situations and the incidents, the events that came out in that book. There are so many beautiful places, but I'll quote one of my very touching lines, which I really is one of my favorites among many favorites, is a battle is to defeat and not to eliminate. Elimination means defeating the very idea of coexistence and is not a wise thing to do. What made you write such an intensely political story? And what is the kind of message that you're trying to give through this book?
Thank you for picking up a very profound line. One of those lines that I really like from the book is this line. Thank you so much for picking up that line. Because this single line can put the entire gist of the book. You know, leaderships are two types. Even though somebody has risen to the level of leader, leadership is always differentiated between who is working for the future, who is working for the present. This is the core difference between two leaderships. The leadership which is working for the present is the finite leadership. It is always having full stops. And leadership, to me, is always a comma, because it is never ending, it is perpetuating, and it is infinite. Because if today's leadership does not think well about what is going to happen in the future, you will not develop anything for the future. Rather, you will consume everything, all the resources for your today's well-being, which is the most dangerous. So in the world, there are two leaderships. That is how the world is divided even today. Somebody is working for the unborn child, and somebody is working for their own betterment. So this book is, literally talking about the conflict, the tussle between such kind of leaderships. And that the quote you mentioned is that ecosystem. You alone have your own target, for example, that is one. But when you take another 9 people with you, make a collective objective, that becomes 10. And now you have an ecosystem of 10. It is very important as a human being that you have to depend on others. You alone cannot do nothing in this world. But when you realize this, when you are part of an ecosystem, that ecosystem doesn't have to be of equals. Ecosystem is never of equals. Ecosystem is of different capabilities. All coming together, that creates an ecosystem because one is dependent on others. And that is how the whole ecosystem is thriving. The moment a leader does not understand such kind of a setup, the moment a leader is always becoming a selfish, exploiting others, trying to put people in the dark side, trying to put people in the corner, always trying to prove a point that I am the one. Versus there is a leader who's always talking about us, we all go together, we are all going to achieve, we are all going to benefit, we are all going to see the future. Your vision cannot be a finite vision where I will achieve, let's say, $3 trillion economy. That's not vision. I will become number 2 in coming 20 years. That's not vision. Vision is what are you offering for the future generation. Vision is what is going to be the situation or the platform for your grandson or a granddaughter. That is the vision that leaders, that is the language of a leader. We wanted to hear from leaders. So this book is technically dissecting that idea of what is the finite vision, what is the infinite vision. Thank you so much for picking up the line.
I'll go one little more bit further. I felt it says is that it is about learning to coexist with your enemies, learning to coexist with something which is a different idea from you, which is at cross purposes to your thoughts, to be not eliminating those thoughts and to be able to coexist and be at peace with that. Is that what you're also trying to say? Be at peace with your enemies as well?
No, I mean, not necessarily. See, many people say comparing, competing, these two things are bad. But again, I'm going to upset those conventionalists that comparing is very much part of the human nature. So there is no need for us to tell don't compare, because automatically when you are in an environment, you will immediately start relating yourself that where exactly am I today? That itself is a comparison. Competition, obviously, with your own capability, because you're competing with others not by doing anything unethical or anything unfair. That is why I mentioned defeating others is the important thing. But how? Not eliminating. You defeat in the sense that there is an idea, and then you by means of discussion, by means of your effort, by means of your whole approach, you are going forward. That itself is defeat of others. But elimination means how many can you keep eliminating? The whole ecosystem will become zero if you keep eliminating and going forward. But the ecosystem is very much important.
Profound and fascinating. I'll come to my last question, which is that tell us a bit about your thoughts on how anybody can unleash a high achiever in themselves by listening to their moments of signal, as you talk about.
Yeah, moments of signal, I always meant that you have to be aware of what's happening around you. It is such simple approach.
Give us an example, how from your life, what you have seen, how you look at a moment of signal.
I mean, see, as I have failed in certain cases and I have succeeded in certain cases. But both the times I can say either I lacked to sense the signals or I was good at sensing the signals. First, I will share a failure case. There were many failures. For example, that when I was a street vendor, I was very naive. Only I thought supplying itself is a business, but I did not know how to collect the money. And I was very naive. Anybody asked me, I would give the milk packets. But only later, I ended up knowing more about those people. No, those people are, they normally they don't pay. They have a lot of such cases. Only I heard later part. I should have inquired first and then do this business. And there was another failure recently during COVID, is that we thought to help India by bringing oxygen concentrators. For example, it was in 2021. So a couple of us have gathered, and then because that time there was a news that India was reeling without oxygen concentrators. So we thought we would import some oxygen concentrators. We did. But by the time the oxygen concentrators have reached India, we have lost about 1 month's time because of the the routine bureaucracy, all that the formalities. But by the time they came, they landed in the country. The COVID, the second wave, I think, that has diminished. The impact has diminished of COVID. Suddenly, there is no need for these oxygen concentrators, because by then, Indian government also has ramped up the capacity of oxygen. They really did a great job in that. What I'm trying to say is, I thought I can ride the wave of that opportunity. No matter whether I wanted to give it a very nominal price or not. But what I have missed is a good signal that such business is dependent on certain environment, which is totally out of my control. There is nothing to do with my capability there. You know what happened? That business idea went miserable. We lost a lot of money on that, quite a money. What I'm saying is, if you lack the sense of what is happening around you, if you do not have that sense of receiving that signal, what is that around you, then you will end up in miserable failures. What is good? Okay, for example, the idea of starting up a management consultancy. That was a time when COVID also sets up, and idea of becoming from, for example, when I was working as a waiter. That is when I realized the real power of education. Then I've suddenly noticed what kind of people are coming to the hotel. When I started noticing, these are all highly educated, these are all well-to-do, well-behaved. So there was a sense that suddenly I felt education is the key for me to start doing good in the life. So immediately my focus, after that long 6-7 years of gap doing random jobs on the road, I have sensed education is that signal that I must catch first. So there was always a tipping point. For you to be able to sense the signal, then there is always a tipping point. If you can just notice that tipping point, your decisions will always be much better. However, you got to be very well versed with what you want to do. Or you need to give your full focus and become yourself and established in that area. Otherwise, your success rate is going to be very poor, because your tipping point will not help you to become successful.
Wonderful, fascinating hearing you, Sridhar. I hope to have a little more engagement on certain specific areas on politics and other things that you have a profound idea, profound thoughts as well at some other point of time. But it was fascinating to learn about your life, very inspirational for me to hear you as well as read your books. And I would recommend the audience to go and at least read The Roaring Lambs. It's easygoing, it's a story, but it's just fills you up with a profound thought. Thanks for joining, Sridhar. Wonderful talking to you. Keep going at your success, keep listening to your moments of signal, and make us listen to more moments of signal so that we can also achieve as much as you are doing.
Thank you so much, Jayaji, and you have been doing a great job bringing out the stories and bringing those stories very closer to the people who are always aspiring.
My pleasure.
I wish you great luck as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.